Hello everyone, welcome to Glass Half Dead, the home of Kill Team content, and I'm excited to talk about the new Kill Team Salvation Blades of Khaine. Firstly, thanks to Games Workshop for sending this to me for review. I'm going to start with an overview, then summarise all of the Tac Ops and Ploys, discuss their main ability, and then of course a few notes on the Operatives as always, timestamps below if you want to jump straight to that. Very quickly, right at the top, what are the Blades of Khaine and who are they? The Blades of Khaine are the 4th Eldar Specialist team and the 2nd Eldar APL3 team. With only 3 data cards to consider, you might think this is an inflexible team. That is not the case. Each aspect has access to 5 techniques, so if you're running at least one of each aspect, the Scorpions, the Banshees and the Avengers, as you see delightfully set up here, you essentially have 8 models, each with 5 abilities. Each activation of one of your very capable APL3 models also comes with the choice of how to use them. That's a lot going on, if I'm honest. These aspect techniques can be viewed as free abilities that simply didn't fit on the data card, or as additional ploys that can be played but without a CP cost. I suspect that this was a design decision forced on the game's designers by a modelling team who didn't know what they were designing and that this was for Kill Team. And I think given the circumstances, they've managed to create a flexible team from a bunch of models that have absolutely no distinguishing features between them. This team will have a natural power to it thanks to being APL 3, but with only 8 wounds and no team-wide ability to avoid being shot, it's going to take a few games to figure out how to not get tabled. But they all have good melee profiles, and with the current meta of playing on very dense boards, this team will do just fine, and I suspect will immediately rise to the top of tier lists, being very strong, but not inherently broken. I will quote the 40k lead designer regarding Eldar in 40k to summarise this team, because I think that level of obliviousness is hilarious, but also seems to be consistent. Eldar have been designed to play the game well. What were they thinking? Saying that, right? Now look, as with all pre-release content, the number of games I've managed to get in is limited, so I've only been able to run the Khainites in 6 games so far. 4 of them on the new Killzone Beta Decima, so, consider that when I'm giving my impressions. If you want to see this team played against a top-ranking player, I've actually done a battle report with them over on Tactical Skew, my other channel. See you there. On Glass Half Dead, I've also done an unboxing of Salvation and the new Killzone, plus an overall review of them as products, and then of course, this type of team summary for the Scouts World too. Now look, before we crack on with this long and in-depth review, I'd like to give a big subscriber-only benefit. So if you're not subscribed, jump ahead 30 seconds, this one isn't for you, okay? And that is a double hello. Wow, so wholesome, and truly the wholesomeness knows no bounds for such a polite and pleasantry receiver like yourself. Thank you. Also, if you like what I'm doing here, consider checking me out on Patreon. It's basically a glorified tip jar, but I give you extra videos like random unboxings and channel updates. Also at certain tiers I give digital goodies like my objective markers, an STL for these Glass Half Dead themed tokens, and some data card templates. Okay, let's get to it. A summary of their ploys and Tac Ops and abilities. Starting with the basics, this is an 8 model team. Archetypes are based on which operatives you take the most of. You can always take Seek and Destroy, and if you have more Avengers, you can take Security. If you have more Scorpions, you can take Infiltrators, and if you have more Banshees, you can take Recon. You can mix and match these operatives as you want, but you can only take one Exarch. Their ability is called Aspect Techniques. Each aspect has 5 techniques that it can use. Each of these techniques can only be used once per activation and once per turn. Unless you are only running one aspect, for example all 8 are Scorpions, then each technique can be used twice per turn. I have the 15 techniques up on screen for you to see, but I will not cover them right now. I'm going to talk about them when discussing the datasheets they can be used with. Needless to say, these define the team completely. And so we begin with Tac Ops. Aspect warfare is all 3 aspects must damage an enemy in a turning point to get a VP. Master techniques is use all 5 aspect techniques to get a VP. And then martial harmony is an Avenger must control an objective marker, a Scorpion must be within 6 inches of an enemy, and a Banshee must be within 6 inches of your opponent's drop zone. Summary, all of these are reliant on your models not dying. I would pretty much never pick them. Seek and Destroy is much easier to play. Strategic ploys, Eminent Grace is +1 inch to your move and can move through your own models. Forewarned is when one of your models is shot and they are ready, you can reroll 1 defense dice. Ruthless Poise is when you fight in melee against an enemy operative that is ready, you can reroll 1 dice. Khaine's Vengeance is the same thing but in shooting. To refresh your memory, an operative only flips their ready token at the end of their activation. So throughout their activation, they are ready. So if you get charged by the enemy, you get these rerolls. Keep that in mind. And I'm going to say it now. When you see somebody asking, hey, can I reroll? Point them to this video. I've already done it for you. There you go. You're welcome. Tac Ploys now are nice and simple. Blade Wind is just fight twice. Starfall is shoot twice. Fading Light is fall back for 1 less AP. And Contempt is just turn off rerolls. Jumping to equipment, which we normally do last, like the book does, but we're going to do it now because, datasheets, right? We have Weaponized Panoply, which is Avengers get 4 attacks instead of 3, making them Space Marines in melee for 1 AP, not bad. Rune of Prophecy is +or-1 to the initiative roll, always take this. Rune of Foresight is the equipment step of the game, select an opponent's Strat or Tac Ploy, and when they use it, you gain a CP, always take this. Rune of Shielding is ignore the damage from 1 enemy dice. Same as the Vet Guard, Rosary or Commando's just a scratch, again, always take this, probably put it on your leader. Wraithbone Talisman is get a free CP reroll on the operative. Shadowweave Grenade is just a smoke grenade with a fancy name. And Plasma Grenade is the classic plasma grenade, halfway between a frag and a crack, same as the other Eldar plasma grenades. As you can see, so far there's nothing noteworthy about this team. All of their ploys and strats are very, very basic. That's because this team is 90% aspect techniques and APL3 goodness. And okay, on to the main part of the video, the datasheets. Each of the 3 aspects have an Exarch. This is the same as the warrior datasheet, but with +1 health and armor, and they can shoot twice and have weapon options, and their melee attack number is always 5 instead of the warrior 4 attacks. All of these stat lines are the same between the datasheets, otherwise being 8 wounds, 4 up saves, APL3, but each aspect does get a unique ability. Starting with the Dire Avengers, their special ability is Defense Tactics. They don't get a reduced BS in Overwatch, nice and simple. Shuriken Catapult is exactly what you'd expect, a bolter with rending. The Exarch can run a catapult and fists or twin catapults, or he can run a dire sword or power weapon and a pistol or shimmer shield. Let's start with power sword versus power weapon. Power weapon gives you that 6 on the crit but has no rending. If you're against 10 wound or less teams, go dire sword, simple. Pistol versus shimmer shield, I'd say pistol because you throw down the shimmer shield's 4 up invuln within circle. An opponent will kill you with chip damage instead, sending their AP weapons elsewhere. It's not really an issue against an Eldar frame. You've only got 8 wounds, 4 up save, well 3 up against the Exarch, right? They're going down to chip. You then get twin shurikens. I'm going to say it. I genuinely believe these are a typo. I don't know where the typo is in this stat line, but it's there. There might even be multiple typos, okay? So, same number of attacks as a regular shuriken catapult, but with 1 less ballistic skill. Doesn't do the extra crit damage, so it's 3-3. Something here is wrong. I assume it should be 5 attacks. I don't know, but it's bad as written. Don't take this. I'm also going to read the Shuriken pistol because it's used on a lot of these data sheets, and this guy can take it, so it's the first time it's coming up, but this guy will actually never take it, but this gets it out of the way, right? So they're the same across every data sheet. It's a 6-inch bolter with rending, warriors hit on 3s, Exarchers on 2s, done. And on to the techniques. Slicing Hurricane lets you interrupt your own normal move to shoot and then continue your move. Death of 1,000 Blades is great, and after you've shot one time, shoot another valid target within circle. Can't be the same target, isn't blast because the other operative has to be valid, but still, pretty cool. Vigilance of the Avenger gives your gun no cover. Unstinting Immovable means when you're shot, if you roll a crit, make a failed save a normal save. I will say this now because it will get asked, and when you see it get asked, again, link them my video because I'm a prophet, or to be more on brand, I'm a farseer. If you are hit with an AP 1 or 2 gun, you did not discard that missing defense dice, so you cannot save it. You're welcome. Cool. Finally, they have Raging Heat of the Dying Flame, and that is ignore injured and or negatively modified APL. Note that enemy banners tend to finish their abilities saying this is not a modifier, so you're normally looking at targeted abilities this will help against, which are, in fairness, pretty rare, but, good when it comes up. It's free for you to do, why not, right? We then move to Howling Banshees, and we have the special ability Banshee Mask, which is when you perform the fight action, the enemy operative is -1 to their weapon skill. It's not cumulative with being injured. That means it's one or the other. This ability won't make an injured enemy -2 to their weapon skill if you were struggling with what not cumulative means. Don't worry, me too. I mean, when the woke agenda fill their words with cum, how can we draw our gaze away from it? How dare they do that to us, making us gay? Power weapons are exactly what you'd expect. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/6 damage, lethal 5. The Exarch can take a power weapon with a pistol or a Triskele. Pistol with an Executioner, or pistol and Triskele together, or mirror swords with no ranged weapon. Let's start with the Triskele because it's, I believe, our first 6 attack weapon in melee. Hitting on 2s, Reap 2, rending 3/4 damage. This is a really great horde clearing option. Reap 2, rending 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, able to fight twice. And for a ploy, you get a reroll in both of those attacks, don't forget. That means against horde teams, this is one of the best blast weapons around, interestingly. For every 6 in melee, dealing 2 morsels to other enemies within circle of your target means crippling an enemy that didn't space out. Great option to have on the roster. Mirror swords, however, swap your pistol to be exactly the same as a power weapon but with lethal 5. This, plus their technique called the Woe, which we'll cover in a moment, and the fact they can fight twice natively, means not having a pistol isn't that big of a deal, I guess. Great option if you want strong melee, I suppose, I don't know. Finally, the Executioner is a big hitter, dealing 7 on the crit, but amazingly shows the Eldar prowess by keeping 5 attacks and still hitting on 2s plus lethal 5. The best 7 damage weapon in the game, which then makes things pretty confusing as to whether you want this or the Triskele versus Hordes, because this one-shots them. And the Triskele has a range profile, which is Torrent Square, rending, so really just going for great into Hordes again, but only being 2-3 damage, so a las gun, auto gun. Onto the techniques. The Woe, as previously noted, perform a charge, and then if you get the kill, use up the remainder of that charge move. This is how an Exarch can get 2 kills with that single weapon. Charge 3 inches, kill, continue the other 5 inches, or 6 inches if you've done Eminent Grace, and you can fight again, because your Exarch, of course, can natively fight twice. Lovely bit of tech. Rain of Tears. If you are the active operative and you roll a crit, you can fall back 3 inches with Fly. You get to see what you roll, don't forget. Land that crit, run away, amazing chip damage. Chip damage of 6, right? Great. Acrobatic is move 6 inches with Fly. Note the max of 6 inches, this means your charge can't fly 8 inches, only 6. If you use Eminent Grace, can't use it here, that kind of thing. Scream that steals is when you are in a combat, you get to parry before the attacker. Note that even if you are the attacker, you would still get to use this before yourself, allowing you the possibility to parry, then attack, or double parry. Again, it's used once you see the dice, so superb. Finally, Shriek the Kills lets you perform a shoot action with this weapon. 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, 1-2 damage, 6-inch range, indirect, no cover, torrent 1, stun. Again, amazing horde killer, or horde damager. It's not killing anything, let's be honest. It's a nice indirect weapon, and 6 dice means stun is a very, very real possibility on multiple models, and indirect means they can't hide from it. Nice tool in the box, that's what she said. Finally, we get on to the new models. It's the Scorpions. Mandy Blasters are when you perform a fight action, the enemy immediately takes 2 mortals, which means their chainsword that is 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage rending, is really a 7 damage on the crit weapon, meaning hordes will tremble. Only 4 dice attack though, so really it's only guaranteed a crit if you're my opponent with their broken OP dice who have literally never not rolled a crit on 4 dice. X-Arch weapons are pistol with biting blade or pistol with scorpion claw and chainsword, or twin pistols with twin chainsaws. Let's start with the twin options. Both are bad, don't take them. Shooting and hitting on 4s. Get that relentless out of here, I don't care. This dude is a guardsman at that point. And the twin chainswords are hitting on 2s. They don't need the addition of rending, let's be honest. This is clearly a profile to appease the 40k players, who probably will run that loadout, I would have to assume. I don't know, I'm just assuming. Biting Blade is a souped up power weapon being 5-6 damage rending. Then we have the weapon we all want and have probably already built with the Scorpions, and that's the Claw, obviously. So 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4-5 damage, brutal, lethal 5. And the regular warrior chainswords are 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage, rending. Solid into 10 wound and lower teams, and thanks to Mandy Blasters, great into hordes, giving them that one-shot capability. Then we get onto their techniques. Patient Stalk, Sudden Blow, is... I'm not going to make a joke there. Nope. Patient Stalk, Sudden Blow is you perform a normal move action while on Conceal. If during that normal move you move within 1 inch of an enemy, they take D3 plus 2 mortals. This is very similar to the Corsair ability. Strike and Fade is you get a kill in melee and can then dash and flip your order. Brilliant reposition ability that will make you very hard to hit. Scorpion's Eye gives your pistol indirect. Merciless Strikes is that if you roll a crit, your weapon gains stun. For those that can't quite remember, the first time you strike with a stun crit, you also parry one of your opponent's normal hits. Normal hits. Keep that in mind. The second time you strike with a stun crit, you get -1 to the enemy's APL. Your weapon has rending, so as long as they don't parry that second crit, you will get to minus their APL, assuming you roll any crit at all, because of rending, right? But you will then also die because of melee, because that's how damage profiles work. Finally, we have One with the Gloom, which gives you Super Conceal. Note, it's Super Conceal, not Harlequin Domino Field Ultra Super Duper, S tier Super Conceal. And that's the Blades of Khaine done. I hope you've enjoyed the rules rundown and look forward to seeing all of the tips and tricks that come from playing this clearly top tier team in the coming months. They will be very strong in the right hands, there's no doubt about that at all. But if you forget your aspect techniques and position poorly, you will get tabled faster than most teams, to be honest. If you like what I do here, please consider checking me out on Patreon, where your support keeps this channel on track. The true heart and soul and hot sticky lifeblood of the Kill Team community. Literally a tip jar thanking me for my service, actually. I don't want to big it up too much, I don't want to oversell it, but I do give you extra videos also. Just going to throw it out there, at certain tiers, the $10 plus tier, I give out free digital goodies like these Kill Team activation tokens and my objective markers. Okay, well everybody stay politely hydrated, triple hello, goodbye.